بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. Distinguished guests, honorable speakers, esteemed colleagues, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Let me first extend my profound thanks to the organizers of the 43rd Symposium, especially His Excellency Sheikh Yusuf Al-Khalawi, for extending his utmost efforts in continuing this great platform which was created for the exchange of scholarship. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this session, Sustainability Projects and Initiatives, Global Models. As we gather here today, we are going to present a unique opportunity to explore and discuss some of the most innovative and impactful sustainable projects and initiatives from around the world under the banner of Islamic finance. We recognize that the principles of sustainability, responsible investing, are not only aligned with the core values of Islam, but also essential to the well-being of our planet and future generations. The papers in this session will be presented, will highlight the importance of sustainable practices in various industries and showcase successful models that have been implemented globally. We will delve into the topics such as the B Corporation model, which emphasizes sustainability in the service sector. We will also look into the fair trade model, which focuses on sustainability in the agriculture sector. And then we'll move on to micro, small, and medium enterprise development agency example, which highlights the role of small and microfinance in achieving sustainability. And towards the end of this session, the last speaker will be on the Tabung Haji model, which showcases sustainable savings practices. These papers offer valuable perspectives on how sustainability can be achieved through innovative financial and business models. They also provide insight into the ways in which Islamic finance can play a critical role in promoting sustainability. We sincerely hope that the discussion and deliberations in this session will lead to a great understanding and collaboration among participants and contribute to the advancement of sustainability initiatives worldwide. I hope this session will be very engaging and informative. I look forward to hearing the valuable insights from our esteemed speakers. So we'll start first with the presentation from Mr. Sharjeel Ahmed. He's a dynamic tech entrepreneur with a strong background in investment banking. As a co-founder of SciCube, a UK-based blockchain and fintech advisory and solution providers, Mr. Sharjeel is leading the way in promoting cutting-edge technology in the area of Sharia-compliant finance and investments and halal economy, SDGs, etc. His paper is entitled Sustainability in the Services B Corporation Model. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Where is the presentation? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Al-Barka Summit for their invitation and give us an opportunity to talk on this very important subject, sustainability. We all talk about sustainability, but I think we need to drop down now to what exactly sustainability is for service sector, especially in corporates. And these corporates could be businesses, could be financial institutions. So without taking much time on introduction, I just would like to start about the B Corporation model. B Corporation model is started in US by 3 friends and a mixture of bankers and entrepreneurs. And they came to the point where they thought, how can we make businesses as a force for good? The way I'm going to speak, so I've just tried to make the session interactive. Of course, after the session, we can ask questions, but some of the points which I've highlighted, which I'll connect in the last slide with Islamic finance. So they've started B Corporation with a business of force for good. And in B Corporation, there's also a thing called B Labs, which is a non-profit organization. And the purpose of the B Lab is to transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. So people, communities, and the planet. This is the emphasis. Of course, B Lab, they have spread in last 15, 16 years all over the world, including East Africa, Europe, North and South America, UK. And it's predominantly a charitable model. Their purpose is to redefine success in business. And this is a very important point. What they're trying to do, redefine success in the business. And again, this point, I will raise it in the last slide. After spending significant time in investment banking and Islamic banking, what we have learned and what the corporations are thinking about the success in their businesses. The philosophy of B Corporation is a systematic change. So keep in mind, not change, systematic change. It means they are talking about the change the system, the change the mindset, which of course is not very easy and simple. And how they are looking to do it? By modeling the behaviors of institutions by constantly, first of course, do the impact assessment and continuously ongoing improvement of the businesses. Sorry.
They're here.
Hello.
Support. Technical support.
Can anyone put up the slides, please? Sorry? No.
I will help you. I'll check that.
Sure. Thank you.
Excuse me.
The second thing, which is the philosophy, is governance structure. So how to change the governance structure, which means the legal change. And this is a big ask. So we are talking about, as I mentioned, systematic change. So it's not just a talk shock. What they are saying, to systematic change and the change in governance and the legal status, legal structure of the organizations. They focus on 2 key pillars. One is to build a diverse representative community of B Corps. B Corps, companies who get certified by B Corporation, they call B Corps. And those communities, their idea or what they are looking to do is to build a community to create evidence and inspire others. So when you have, let's say, 10 B Corps in one country, so they build the community and they ask them to build more, bring other institutions. So that's the way, it's a replica model which they are building. The second thing is making the case for these models to be adopted at a scale. how you can adopt on a scale. Of course, when you empower institutions, so it's not just the only responsibility of corporation to go to masses, but they are creating institutions, and these institutions are become the vocal point for B Corp itself. And again, what they're saying, focusing on regulatory change and regulation, and shifting cultural norms within and around business. The cultural norm around business is what? So for me, the business, or not only for me, for any institution today, if you ask how successful you are, we are very successful. We are from last 4 years, we are doing profit. Our balance sheet has grown from 1 billion to 10 billion. This is the way we define success. But what they are saying, change in mindset. This is not the way you define success. Can you change the slide, please? Right, so what is the problem? What they found the problem that in the current economic system, which is driven by business as one of the key actors, which instead of creating a positive impact on the society, unfortunately, businesses are impacting or creating a negative impact. On whom? People, communities, and the planet. Now, what are the problems they have identified? So one, in the businesses, design of legal system, right? The way businesses have designed today, that is problematic. Business behavior and operations, how businesses are behaving, how their operations are, how they are engaging with their employees and their stakeholders and third parties. And of course, the corporate culture and the narrative around business and success. As I mentioned earlier, the definition of success today for business is different. And which leads to 3 types of negative impacts, which is structural, social, and economic inequality, environmental degradation and resource extraction, and decline of individual well-being and loss of social cohesion. I mean, today, if you ask anybody who's working in the corporate sector, and you ask them how you are finding, they say very stressful. And unfortunately, this is what the culture needs to be changed. Rather than you find it stressful, you need to enjoy it, because we spend most of our time at work. And that's the thing which we are talking about. What is the solution? So they are saying, by adopting the way B Corporation is they're bringing 5 strategies, 5 global strategies. 1, to drive the adoption of their standards to manage the impact of business. 2, to certify and engage businesses to improve their impact, to certify them. And that's what B Labs are doing, to certify institutions. Articulate and amplify stories of businesses and equitable force for good. Very important point. That businesses should be a fair and it should be a force for good. Catalyze policy change, engaging with regulators, engaging with various institutions. To enable businesses, how can they be force of good? It's easy to say we are looking to make businesses force of good, but unless we engage with the regulators and create the environment which helps businesses to be force for good. And last, develop a network of local, regional, and global communities for change. As I said earlier, what they are trying to do, build the communities. Build the network of local, global, and regional communities. What is the outcome? The outcome is of course, we are talking about the theory of change. It works towards a world where business is a force for good and plays a leading role in positively impacting and transforming the global economy into a more inclusive, equitable, and regenerative system. And that's exactly what we all are talking about today, financial inclusion or inclusion, equitable, fair business, and regenerative system, which I have a small slide which we'll discuss. B Corps, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but B Corps, as I said earlier, these are the companies which has been certified by B Labs. And course, these companies treat good businesses as an idea that includes both profit and purpose, right? That is another very important point, that how you balance profit and purpose. B Corps are strive to reduce inequality, lower poverty levels, and create a healthier environment, stronger communities, and purposeful jobs. I mean, if you think of it, what they are talking about, and I'll ask this question again after a couple of slides, is it reminding you anything which all of us have gathered today to talk about? And the last point I wanted to highlight, it's not a charity. It's not charity, means businesses is not charity, but better business offer better practices. Further from credit and closer to universal compliance. Again, they have clarified, we are not charities, businesses are not charities, but better businesses offer better practices. What is the B Lab accreditation process? Very quickly, so B Lab certifies companies based on how they create value for non-shareholding stakeholders, which means what? So B Corp, their philosophy is that businesses are not working for shareholders only. Everybody who is part of the business, either it's employees, either it's your third parties, either your customers, your consumers, local community. Everybody is the stakeholder in the business. And that is the culture which B Corp is developing. Also, it's not that once they certify one company, that the game is over, but on annual basis, they grade each year companies to ensure that they are meeting the higher standards for public transparency, legal accountability, and balance of profit and purpose. If it is only 1 minute, just 2 slides, and then I finish. So B Corp certification process, they focus on 5 things: governance, workers, customers, community, and environment. And because of the time, it's a quick stats. There's around 6,468 companies who are certified by B Corp, 89 countries, 161 industries, 553,000 workers, and of course, one unifying goal. But how we can look at B Corporation model in Islamic finance? Unfortunately, I had several discussions with several CEOs of banks and Islamic banks, and I've asked them, what are we doing and how we are doing for CSR? What impact are we creating? We are $3 trillion, $4 trillion, $5 trillion industry. What are we doing? Can we set any example where we can say Islamic banking industry has done such and such? And the answer every time I've got, Sharjeel, we are a profit-making organization, we are not a charity. And they're right. They're absolutely right. But imagine what I've just explained about the B Corp. Can't we resonate? This is exactly the Islamic values. This is what Islam is teaching us, right? To bring everybody in the business. If we talk about solidarity among members of community, these are the few points which I have derived from the B Corp research. It says that each element is interconnected and thrive for betterment for all, which means what? Partnership models, which we are working on, and we should work on. Mudaraba, musharaka, what is telling us? Help each other, partnership, create businesses. Takaful, unfortunately, most neglected part of the Islamic finance. What is telling us? Cooperation, niyah, tabarru, right? Work each other, help each other. Increase economic output and create jobs. That's exactly what the Islamic finance motto is, asset-backed banking. How we can increase economic output by investing in assets, creating more jobs. That's the first thing I've learned when I was learning about Islamic finance. Reduce inequality. Fair distribution of wealth. That's the Islamic economics. That's the basic which we have learned, is a fair distribution of wealth. And of course, Islamic social finance. Create a healthier environment. which means not allowed to invest in companies. And this is exactly what Islamic finance is talking about. You know, don't invest in certain forbidden activities. And the last is balance, profit, and purpose. We need balance, profit, and purpose. Rather than only calling ourselves we are a profit-making organization, we need to create the environment. And I think Islamic banks are well placed to create that environment, because as one of the speakers mentioned earlier, yes, you know, to drive any economy, you need financing. And Islamic finance are financing lots of SMEs, and of course, in their various countries.
Sharjeel, you have to start.
Thank you. I just would like to request 2 minutes. And again, it resonates, it's not related to the exactly the presentation, but one of my experience and which I have learned from, and which is very relevant to this forum. 2005, when I started my banking career, and I was very much active in the, in fact, I was looking for jobs. There was an event in London where all the top officials from all over the world were there, and I happened to be there as well. So I got my cards, personal cards, and I took that business cards to everybody and saying, you know, I'm looking to get into Islamic banking. And one of the person I've met, I gave him my card and I said, my name is Sharjeel Ahmed. This is my personal email address. And I am working on Islamic finance. I'm looking for jobs in Islamic banking. And that person looked at me. He said, all right, okay, so what do you do? What are you looking? And he put his hand around me, and we were walking in the coffee area. And he was just asking, and I was being a very enthusiastic Islamic banking. And I was telling him about his views and benefits of Islamic banking. And after a few minutes, he said, you know, I have to go. And then I, you know, came out. So some of the, at that time, bankers, senior bankers, they came and asked me, Sharjeel, how do you know this person? I said, I don't know him. I just gave him my card, and I said, you know, I wanted to be an Islamic banker. And he said, who is that guy? I said, no, I don't know who is he, but he seems really want to know more about Islamic finance, and he encouraged me to do more. He said, he is Sheikh Saleh Kamel. And that is the examples which I am growing with. I started my career. And that's why we feel pain when we look at it, when people talk about, you know, profit first and then anything else. And I think this is what the humbleness I have learned in my career, and I always get very emotional when I talked about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very emotional. It was a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure there are a number of, audience, in the audience, a number of questions are going to come forward to you, especially with regard to the tool that you will develop, to assess the companies, particularly when you go for example, SMEs, you have a psychometric, tool, which will predict, credit, risk, So similarly, that when you go to these companies to include them in the B Corporation, I'm sure you must have developed some sort of tool, that you can share with us, sometime. So now let's move on to the second paper. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Asif Zaman, who is the head of the Accounting, Economics and Finance Department at Cardiff University, Wales and UK. Professor Asif has over 20 years of extensive business management experience in diversified industries. His entrepreneurial expertise ranges from sales, retail, project management, etc. His scholarly interest ranges from banking and finance, fintech, sustainability, Sharia-compliant Islamic finance, cross-border practices, and fintech in finance. Also, within the social sciences, he has published in the area of women entrepreneurship and project management. And Professor Asif will be presenting a paper entitled Sustainability in the Agricultural Sector, Fair Trade Model. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure for me to be here in this blessed city. And on a very important forum, where we are talking about sustainability. And I believe yes, I believe this is a very important topic especially after the discussion that we have. And I was given this topic, when I was given this topic basically of fair trade, I was very happy as a researcher that at least we have a foundation to start with, and it's about time we could adopt the fair trade model and take it further in order to enhance in terms of like sustainability, basically, and the agenda around that. So as far as the sustainability was concerned, I looked into that, and unfortunately, the more I looked into the fair trade, it sounded not very fair to me, unfortunately. And I found that in order for me to come up with a better enhanced solution in terms of, especially in the areas of Islamic finance, I believe in the end I am proposing to have an Islamic version of a fair trade model which will be in its fairness because of its makeup or its direction that it takes in terms of the maqasid driven. In this case, like fair trade model can try to minimize the issues that are currently prevailing as far as basically the issue of sustainability is concerned. The paper, as far as the paper is concerned, it is a work in progress, and I will be highlighting in terms of certain areas. The clicker is just jumping on me. Okay, so, wow. As far as this fair trade initiative is concerned, actually, with all good intention, this is the best that we have in the conventional world, and as we say that basically we take that is present and that is available to us and see basically by going into and evaluating this, then how can we make things better. So as far as this current model is concerned, the Fair Trade Initiative, it started with its good intention of helping out the small-time farmers and making provisions basic for the small-time farmers which does not have the access to the financing and so forth. But very quickly, the fair trade model became very politicized, especially in the West, and they wanted to open the world in terms of exploration phase. Then that is why we see different agreements, because as the world is opening up, and as we know that there are certain parts of the world that are more like crop bearing and they are more like fertile, this is where the World Trade Organization comes into play, and different initiatives have taken place. So it was an initiative basically for the producers, giving them certain incentivization in terms of the premium, in terms of decent working conditions and all of that. They are doing that. That is not a question under debate, but the compensation of all of these efforts, now that is an issue as far as I'm concerned from the maqasid point of view. And this is what I just want to be very quickly highlight. I am conscious of the time. So I just wanted for everyone to pay attention to the cycle which I want to just take you through this journey. So I want to focus on 1947, where the WTO agreement was signed. So this was, to me, an exploration force where it opens up borders for the world to go and explore where there is opportunity for the farmers to grow and basically fulfill its purpose. And then as a progression from JAT, which is the general agreement, basically we have gone to WTO agreement, And as we progress forward, I just want you to have a look at I want you to basically like focus on this picture, if you may, that currently the countries in green, these are the fair trade places in the world where the farmers are supposed to be like growing for us, basically, okay? So just keep that picture in mind. So these are the areas where the like basically fair trade is supposed to happen, okay? So as I go forward, then these principles are developed in terms of giving the world as a direction based what we are looking for in terms of some like principles of basic of like fair trade. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I want to go forward and I want to like show you something that is going to become pretty much apparent, that in the midst of all of this like fair trade, the issue of sustainability was emerging. And as the issues of sustainability was emerging, there is a climatic change is happening due to many different reasons, as we have discussed, in terms of climate change. And the climate change, it might not impact you or me directly, it impacts the land where we grow our crops. And we all need food to eat. And we know the value basically of food. Okay? So the food which is brought to us on our table, it has to come through those lands. So just keep that in mind. And there are certain people who are really working very hard for us. And then we talk about basically fair trade. And as I look into this area, what I find as I look into this area, what I find, this map. I want you to focus on this map. This is a very important map. This is a map produced by the World Food Programme 2021, and it is showing the areas of chronic hunger where people do not have enough to eat. Focus that, and then it will become all like clear that how am I talking about this. So concentrate on the areas, and as I connect the previous map to this map, I want you to extrapolate the green areas which are the fair trade producers supposed to be, and the issue of chronic hunger, where people do not have enough to eat. And it becomes very apparent that the fair trade, or the model, or the people who are dealing in this industry, they are very selectively benefiting certain areas of fair trade over the other areas. So have a look at this map, okay, especially the African country. Now, if you look at the Latin America, okay, which is that one at the bottom, it is not as bad as the continent of Africa, okay, where everyone, people like me in the UK, enjoy a cup of coffee for 4 or 5 pounds or 3 pounds. That is the average price of the coffee. And most of the coffee is coming from the African continent, as we know. But I want us to appreciate the disparity of the living standard of the farmer, which is cultivating, and the model of fair trade helping these people. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So as I basically just go through my research and I look into that, because of the unfairness of different policies and processes, the world is either hungry or there is an obesity in the world. Now, a lot of people say because you have too much food to eat, that's why you are obese. It is absolutely not true. People are forced to eat certain types of food which is readily available in terms of its wellness and goodness. This is where there is a dynamic shift on people's behavior, people basically basically a physicalness. It is a direct result of the food that is being channeled in the food chain and where it comes from and so forth. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to take forward, there are certain trade theories which I'm not going to talk about. Based on that, if we look at the movement, before we get to the fair trade, the original model was basically the free trade model, which is our model, which is the model, propagated by our Prophet ﷺ as base market in Medina, and basically the openness and a market which is genuinely a free market, okay, where the trader and the buyer can exchange goods at a market price. Unfortunately, at present, finding a free market would be a job in hand, if you can find one, because the market is distorted in many different ways. There are different anomalies. But if I just go forward, that there are bigger gaps in terms of the fair trade, the way people have to do, what they have to sign up to this whole policy, and then there are basically scandals developed. Now, unfortunately, the fair trade, it has a bias. As I said to you, I showed you the map. The fair trade has a bias over certain part of the basically of the world. At the minute, according to my research, there is a lot of bias towards basically Latin America and not towards this side of the world, basically reported by different areas. Now, in this case, the startling. Now, as a result of all of those policies that we have, there is a higher rate of suicide amongst farmers. Around the world, I'm only quoting India at the minute because it is much more prevalently available, and there is a high rate of, unfortunately, this event is happening, and it is a progressive, unfortunately, right? Yeah. So, as far as Maqasid al-Sharia is concerned, there is an issue. I thought it was an issue of the government or the politics of the government. And as I go forward, it has nothing to do. In fact, the governments are dictated by certain organizations which are controlling the food market. And I just want to show it to you very quickly that, very basically startling, that these are the big 5 companies in the world controlling the 80% of the world crop. These 5 or these companies in the world, please do your own research. You might know Apple, but if I ask you, do you know Cargill? It's a privately owned company. It's a privately family-owned business. They are more profitable than Apple in its present time. Okay, so I'm just going to, so these are the companies, for example, as far as, I'm conscious of the time, I'm very sorry, but this is too emotional for me as the way I go forward, that these companies, AMD, Bunge, Cargill, these are the people that are controlling almost 80% of the crop, and unfortunately, they dictate where they are going to support the initiative, unfortunately. Just going forward, Chair. So as far as this Cargill is concerned, or so what we call it in the industry, the ABCD, the AMD, the Bunge, the Cargill, and the Louis Vuitton, these are 4 companies. They are pretty much controlling everything that we have. Okay? Now, my issue is that because of non-Maqasid al-Sharia, basically the issue of any ethical guidance, I'm really stuck with this. Oops, sorry. I just wanted you to focus on this. I have never paid less for my coffee in the UK. Okay, but the data shows the price of coffee has fluctuated over a period of time. Unfortunately, because of the absence of profit and loss sharing mechanism, the farmer does not benefit and the consumer does not benefit either. But the price fluctuation is there. Okay. And these are some of these bigger giants. They are profiteering and they are becoming more richer on their balance sheet amidst the crisis. And you can see that these are not my saying, these are basically headline news in the world. When we talk about sustainability and we give control on basically of organizations which are devoid of any moral or ethics, this is what they happen, that they control the whole supply chain and they appear on the world, the family appears on the 500 rich list amidst all of the world crisis. So there is a big business case for all of us to develop our own model, not because of basically what they are or what they're doing. At the end of the day, when I progressed basically in my research, I believe there is a bias towards, I'm just unfortunately stuck again with this clicker. I hope this goes forward. And I'm very sorry about the other presenters. I can only apologize, but...
Let me help you.
Please, thank you.
This one?
If you just... Yeah, so as far as the agriculture is concerned, we have no disagreements. Agriculture, from Islamic point of view, it is the most important aspect of our deen in order to make sure to facilitate the farmer in order for us to be able to in this case basically function in the society. So this is the point. Now the reason I am proposing to have an Islamic version of fair trade model, because we look at these statistics as far as the world, as far as the Muslim countries are concerned. The total member of WTO is 162. Out of that, Muslim countries are 44, over 57 has signed up. So basically 90%, so these are the startling, basically so we make up about 15%. And there is a market exploitation, there is injustice not just for the African countries, the Muslim countries are marginalized in terms of who they are going to make contract with, how are they going to mobilize these different channels. So there is an issue as far as basically as far as this is concerned. So there are different non-Sharia compliant elements within the fair trade model, and because of, although they call themselves basically fair trade, they still charge interest. There is excessive profiteering, for example, basically Ghaban al-Faisha, basically in this case, and they are only favoring the multinational, in this case, agent. So the economic trade view is missing. There is no sharing of profit. But Islam does not, it stops us to make the profit. But as long as the profit is justified and it is transparently achieved, at present the fair trade model controlled by those big five, it is a zero-sum game. But as far as the Islamic model is concerned, that I would like to propose, it provides efficient resources. It provides the optimization of resources. It provides basic reliability, and we have good models as far as Islamic finance is concerned. We have the agriculture model that we have because of the injustices in the Muslim countries that we have, production injustices, and this is the ground reality that the supply chain does not favor the Muslim countries in the world. As far as the producer is concerned, environmental sustainability is an issue that we have. So as far as the mechanism is concerned, we need the political lobby, we need the PLS system, we need to eliminate the zero-sum game, and then basically we have the mechanism. If you read the green one, we have all of the structures of Islamic finance.
I think
almost done, towards the end.
No.
So basically, I just want to show, basically just go forward, that, okay, so this is the case of Saudi Arabia.
I think
this is the last slide. So As far as the Saudi Arabian culture, basically country is concerned, Saudi Arabia in GCC, it's basically leading the initiative. They have adopted the best technological agricultural system that we have, okay, in terms of adopting technology and all of that. And their dependence, if you just go back once more, their dependency on import of grains is going down by every year because they have invested basically in this notion of agricultural policy. So that is all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think you should have started your presentation with the reverse order, actually, to show the business model for Islamic countries. But anyway, but you are going to give a workshop, so inshallah, hopefully you'll have a chance to come. Yeah. I'm so sorry about that, that we have to because I have been given the ultimatum that we should finish this session soon. I mean, within 20 minutes maybe maximum, 15 minutes, but I'm adding 5 minutes. So the next speakers that we have is Mr. Basil Rahimi, and he's the CEO of this micro and small medium enterprise development agency, and it's a national entity, and support the micro and small and medium enterprises in Egypt. He is a result-driven veteran for 25 years of experience in the banking and financial sector, and have a key position with several prominent multinational regional banking entities, in which had proven track record of achieving accelerated portfolio growth while boosting revenue and the profit margins. He will be presenting his research entitled Small and Microfinance, the Most Important Pillars of Sustainability, which is as an example. Thank you very much.
Is it working? Thank you very
much. So if you can please try to see if you can finish it up within 10 minutes.
I will do my best.
I'll appreciate that.
السادة الحضور، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يشرفني أن أستاهل كلمتي بالإعراب عن الشكر الجزيل للمملكة العربية السعودية على الاستضافة الجميلة، كما أعرب عن امتناني لمنتدى البركة للاقتصاد الإسلامي على كريم الدعوة وهذا التنظيم الرائع لندوة في دورتها 43 لهذا العام، مع هذا الجمع الرائع من كبار العلماء والخبراء في مجال المال والأعمال والاقتصاد والتمويل الإسلامي. بداية لما هبتدي أشرح على قصة جهاز تنمية المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة ومتناهية الصغر. هذا الجهاز أنشئ سنة 1990 باسم الصندوق الاجتماعي، وكان هدفه اللي هو التنمية الاجتماعية بمشاريع الصغيرة والمتوسطة والتركيز على مشاريع الصغيرة والمتوسطة. ثم في 2017 تم إنشاء قانون جديد في جمهورية مصر العربية، وإن هو يكون جهاز، وهذا الجهاز يعني يشرفني ان بكون ريبورتنج لاين مع دولة رئيس الوزراء واعضاء مجلس الاداره 7 وزراء، منهم وزير الماليه ووزير التخطيط ووزير التنميه المحليه والخ. من وجهه نظري ومن وجهه نظر طبعا فريق العمل اللي احنا شغالين، المشاريع الصغيره والمتوسطه هو المستقبل القادم لجميع الدول، سواء العربية أو الأفريقية أو جمهورية مصر العربية. أول سلايد تمثل المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة الركيزة الأساسية للتنمية الاقتصادية لأي دولة متقدمة أو نامية، وتشكل المشاريع الصغيرة والمتوسطة 95% من المشروعات في العالم، ومنها المميزات الأساسية طبعا بتحارب مكافحة البطالة وتعزيز معدل النمو الناتج المحلي وزيادة حجم الصادرات وتحسين القوة التنافسية، وتعد المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة الأكثر قدرة على الصمود في مواجهة المتغيرات والأزمات المتقلبة. بالنسبة لنظرة عامة على المشروعات، الشركات المتوسطة والصغيرة في مصر تقريبا 98%، القطاع الخاص almost 100% 99.7%، وده لأن الحكومة مش مهتمية أوي إن هي تخش في القطاع ده، هو أكتر قطاع خاص وشباب بشكل كبير جدا. مساهمة الشركات المتوسطة والصغيرة في الناتج المحلي 43%، وده رقم قليل مقارنة بالدول زي بلد زي إيطاليا بتعدي أكتر من 94%. إجمالي الاستثمار 10% وإجمالي العمالة 75%. Next. بالنسبة لجهود الدولة في دعم قطاع المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، يعني هوقف نفسي شوية في السلايد دي لأن السلايد مهمة جدا. أولا بيحظي قطاع المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة بحيز كبير من الاستراتيجية في التنمية المستدامة في مصر، ودي رؤية 2030 الحكومة المصرية وضعتها. وتولي أجهزة الدولة اهتماما كبيرا بهذا القطاع عن طريق العديد من المبادرات، سواء التي تستهدف توفير الدعم المالي أو عن طريق تقديم الخدمات التسويقية واللوجستية والتكنولوجية، وتوفير التدريب لتأهيل الكوادر البشرية العاملة في المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، وبالذات بالحكومة المصرية الكثير من الجهود من أجل تعزيز الدور الاقتصادي والمشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة ورفع درجة مساهمة في الناتج المحلي، وتتمثل أهم نتائج فيما يلي. أول حاجة البنية التشريعية والتنظيمية، تقليل الأعباء الإدارية وتبسيط البيئة التنظيمية للمشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، وتوفير آلية مؤسسية للتنسيق وتنفيذ الاستراتيجية. وهنا لما بنتكلم على بنية تشريعية وتنظيمية لازم تبقى باندد أو كو براندد مع التكنولوجيا. احنا بنشوف هنا في المثل في السعوديه ما شاء الله كل حاجه بقت ديجيتاليزيشن، الابلكيشن موجوده سواء في الخدمات الحكوميه او غيرها، وده تقدم جامد جدا، وان شاء الله مصر هتكون بصدد هذا. التمويل وهو تعزيز سبل الحصول no one more back yes no sorry next one thank you. تعزيز سبل الحصول المشروعات المتوسطة والصغيرة ومنتهية الصغر على تمويل المنتجات المتنوعة والمبتكرة، وفي ريادة أعمال تحسين ثقافة ريادة الأعمال بما في ذلك تعليم ريادة الأعمال، الاندماج في السلاسل القيمة وتوسيع قدرة المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة على الاندماج في سلاسل القيمة بما في ذلك تنمية التجمعات الصناعية. خدمات تنمية الأعمال تهدف إلى خلق فرص للوصول إلى خدمات تنمية الأعمال بما في ذلك وصول لمعلومات السوق وتنمية مهارات العمل. التكنولوجيا توسع في إنشاء واستخدام تكنولوجيا المعلومات والاتصالات والترويج للخدمات المالية القائمة على التكنولوجيا، وده برضو زي ما قلت لحضراتكم ده من أهم المحاور اللي احنا بنحاول نشتغل عليه. في يعني في الفترة الأخيرة في جمهورية مصر العربية تم إنشاء الوان ستوب شوب، بس الوان ستوب شوب بكونسبت مختلف، إن هو فيزيكال موظفين فيزيكالي قاعدين وبيعملوا الخدمات. احنا بصدد دلوقتي ان احنا نقلب القصة دي لفول ديجيتالايزد بلاتفورم، والبلاتفورم دي بيبقى الموظفين قاعد في كل الهيئات والوزارات والجمعيات اللي هم فيها، وبيتم عمل تطبيق SLA بين المؤسسة أو الوان ستوب شوب وبين كل وزارة، على أساس إن العميل بيقدم الطلب بيخش الداتا انتري بيديله وقت سواء أسبوع أسبوعين يوم يومين على حسب كل خدمة محتاجة قد إيه من الوقت أو التوقيت عشان تنفيذها. Slide 6 please. Next. هنا بقى وده حتة مهمة جدا، وصدور القانون تنمية المشروعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة اللي هو قانون رقم 152 لسنة 2020، ولائحته التنفيذية تمت في سنة 21، وذلك لخلق البيئة التشريعية والتنظيمية مواتية لريادة الأعمال. وتضمن القانون بقى كالآتي: هذا القانون هو خطوة جريئة جدا من الحكومة المصرية، وبتقدر توصلنا بإذن الله لمفاعلات أحسن وتقويم أحسن للمشاريع. أول حاجة عملناها إن بقى عندنا توحيد أو تعريف موحد لكل الصناعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، يعني محدش يعني ما هيش عدد العمالة، ما هيش التيرن اوفر، ما هيش بروفيتابيلتي، ما فيش الكلام ده، لا خلاص بقى في تعريف موحد في جمهورية مصر العربية ما هو الميديم، ما هو السمول، ما هو المايكرو. دي أول نقطة. تاني نقطة، مجموعة من الحوافز الضريبية وغير الضريبية بتصل إلى ارقام يعني تشجيعيه جدا للعامل. توفيق اوضاع المشروعات العامله في القطاع الغير رسمي وتشجيعها وتحويلها للقطاع الرسمي. طبعا مصر بلد عجوزه وبلد قديمه، بلد كتير قوي، في مشاريع كتير قوي اتقدمت وفي مشاريع اتعملت، ما كانش لسه اصدرت اللوائح والقوانين اللي تنظم القصه دي كلها. فبالتالي
Mr. Basil, try.
am I
1 minute.
are you sure؟ اوكي. فبدانا ان احنا النهارده ننظم هذا في نظام تشريعي ونظام قانوني، على اساس ان احنا نبتدي ندخل الاقتصاد الغير رسمي داخل الاقتصاد الرسمي. ده هيوفر طبعا كل القصه دي مع التكنولوجيا او التكنولوجي او الديجيتاليزيشن. ده هيوفر حاجات كتير جدا، هيقلل من الكوربشن، هيقلل من الفراد، هيقلل من البيروقراسي، هيقلل من حاجات كتيره جدا، وهيخلي المواطن في شكل مريح بيقدم الخدمه بتاعته او حتى بيقدم الشكوى الكترونيك والقصه دي كلها. اللي وراها تبسيط الاجراءات لتاسيس واقامه المشروعات والدخول في سوق المشروعات، حوافز للشركات والمنشآت الداعمه للمشروعات المتوسطه والصغيره في رياده الاعمال، ومعامله ضريبيه مبسطه للمشاريع الصغيره والمتوسطه. يعني ابسط مثل على القصه دي ان القانون وصل لمرحله قويه جدا، ان لو حصل تيرن اوفر او مبيعات في حدود 10 مليون جنيه، العميل بيدفع 1% ضريبه للدوله. فده طبعا تشجيع قوي جدا للستارت اب او الشركات الناشئه او لمشاريع صغيره ومتوسطه، ان هم يجات انجيجد اكتر مع الحكومه ويبتدوا يخشوا بدل ما بيدور على وظيفه حكوميه، هو يبتدي يعمل مشروع ويبتدوا ينجحوا. انا دوري كجهاز ان انا بساعده تريننج، كوتشنج، بي تو بي، نخلق الانكيوبيتورز الموجوده، بنقدر نوصل العملاء ببعضيها، نقدر في الجزء التمويلي او الجزء التشجيعي من ناحيه التمويل او اخر حاجه تيسير اتاحه التمويل للمشروعات واتاحه وتخصيص الاراضي للمشروعات. Next. Shall I take one more slide?
Okay. Last
Then
one.
after. Next. Again. Okay. One more. Okay. اخر سلايد دي يعني هقول شويه ارقام ما تم انجازه الجهاز، للاسف لضيق الوقت. جهاز تنميه المشروعات قدر يطلع تمويل بمشروعات تقريبا 63 مليار جنيه مصري، وتمويل المشروعات الصغيره في حدود 35.7 مليار، ووفرت حوالي 1,009,000 فرصة عمل، وولد حوالي 539,000 مشروع تمويل مولد يعني. وتمويل المشروعات المنتهية الصغر وصل ل 27 مليار، ومولد حوالي 3.2 مليون مشروع، ووفرت حوالي 4.2 مليون شهر. بالنسبة لنا احنا لما بنيجي نتكلم على التمويل بيبقى اخر سولوشن بالنسبة لنا. احنا اكتر تنمية، كوتشنج زي ما قلت حضرتك، توفير عمالة او توفير بتاع، بنحاول نخلق اون شيلف برودكت، بنشوف الدولة محتاجة ايه صناعيا، الجزء الصناعي او الجزء الزراعي، وبنبتدي نخلق مشروعات اون شيلف برودكت، ونقول له للشاب او الشابة تعالى ادي المشروع موجود اهو، ادي الميزانيه، ادي دراسه الجدوى موجوده اهي جاهزه، لو انت انترست انك انت تخش في الشغلانه دي احنا بنساعدك كجهاز على اساس انك انت تبتدي توفر لك التمويل بعد كده لو احتاج. انا بشكر حضرتك جدا، اسف ان انا نص البرزنتيشن ما عملتهاش، وبشكر حضرتك، والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Mr. Basil. I really appreciate your cooperation in finishing your presentation. I'm so sorry about this, we have to rush that. So now, the last but not least it's my pleasure to introduce the speaker, Professor Dr. Ashraf bin Muhammad Hashim. He's the Chief Executive Officer of ISRA Consulting, and he's also a professor in the International Center for Education in Islamic Finance in CF. And in addition, he's also chairperson of chairman of Sharia Advisory Council, Bank Negara Malaysia, and is a board member of the Tabung Haji Malaysia. He will be talking about the role of Tabung Haji Malaysia in fulfilling the sustainability. And it's some, I'm sure many of you are aware of it, you know, those who enter into Islamic finance, they enter with Tabung Haji as being the pioneer, you know, in introducing the Islamic social finance. Over to you, Mr. Hashim. I really appreciate if you can, I don't want to give you any time limit, but it's between 7 to 10 minutes, you know, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Respected Dr. Nazim, respected panelists, Mashayikh al-Kiram, and respected scholars, ladies and gentlemen. I feel very humble to represent this great institution, to take you through the journey of its success and also its challenges as well. I have 10 minutes. I put 10 minutes on my clock. Hopefully, I'm not going to take more than the time allocated from me. There are 30 slides, but of course, I'm not going to go by one. The slides are divided into 3 categories in specific. Number 1 is the development of the institution, and then after that, the challenges and way forward. So let me, next, please. I think I just, okay, we stop there for a bit. The slide before. No, after that. Oops, it's not. Okay, so the Tabung Haji was established in 1962. Yeah, if you are talking about among the first Islamic financial institutions, of course, it was not called a bank, but this is an institution where it is allowed to take deposit and, of course, to invest and also to give return to the so-called depositors. So it was quite, I mean, in early days, 1962, with only about 1,281 depositors. The total amount of deposit was only 46,000. And today, this is in 2021, we have about 8.32 million depositors. With the total deposit, I think as we are speaking today, it comes to nearly 90 billion ringgit Malaysia, or more than 20 billion USD. Yeah, so it started as a humble institution, but I mean, developed to be a bigger institution today. Next. Yeah, I think these are the journey that we took. I mean, at Tabung Haji, no need for us to go into details. Next. Next. Okay, let me stop here, pause here a bit. So Tabung Haji, I think through the development in 1995, the Tabung Haji Act was enacted and approved by the Parliament of Malaysia. So I think this is very important moment for Tabung Haji. Tabung Haji was an institution as a government agency before that, but after that, through this act, it is a special act for Tabung Haji alone that allow Tabung Haji to take deposit and also to make investment and also to do the mandate as mentioned by the act, to administer the fund and also to invest and also to facilitate the Hajj program of all the pilgrims from Malaysia. So the noble objective of Tabung Haji is to enable each and every Malaysians to go to Hajj and provide them with excellent service when they are here doing their Hajj. And also, whatever they deposit or they invest in Tabung Haji, it is net of zakat. And we must ensure that anything we do is Sharia compliant. And also the government give also the guarantee for the principal deposited in Tabung Haji. This is guaranteed by the Act 1995. Can we go to the next slide? Next one. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there are a few limbs about the mandate of Tabung Haji. Number one is the investment. we need to make sure, and by the way, the structure that we are using at the moment is wakalah. But it is not wakalah bil istismar, because Tabung Haji does not have any shareholders. Because it is an institution established by the government, we do not have any shareholders to distribute profit. So it is not wakalah bil istismar, it is purely wakalah. So we are the wakil for all the depositors. Who are muwakil for us to take their money and to invest their money. And Tabung Haji will only charge the actual expenses for the job. Yeah, so for the discipline of Tabung Haji, we are putting the fees or the real cost that we are going to incur only not more than 1%. So if you are looking at any unit trust and so forth, so this is the reasonable percentage that we can take as our expenses. But it will go real. If there is anything more than that, it will go back to the depositors for profit distribution. And on your right-hand side is the hash management and also the operation. Can go to the next one. Next one. So in managing the investment, I think this is the asset allocation that we are looking at. We have the asset liability, we have the profitability, and we have to manage liquidity as well. Yeah, because in Tabung Haji, any money deposited into Tabung Haji, it is on demand. So if you put it today, you want it back. After 1 hour, you are entitled to do so. It is like a bank. So bankers here now know how effective we need to manage the liquidity of Tabung Haji. So can we go next? So these are some numbers to show the success of Tabung Haji. Okay, and next one. I think what we are going to do in the future, number one, we need to protect the depositors. So now, even though the Act 1995 is a man-made Act, there are some shortcomings in the Act. So we are looking back at the Act to revise the Act and to table it again to the Parliament to improve the governance of Tabung Haji. For example, just to cite some example, there is nothing mentioned in the Act about Sharia compliant, about Sharia committee, about investment panel, so on and so forth. So we are going to enact that in the Act so that anybody comes after us, they need to do that from governance point of view. And then I think these are some measures that we are taking to improve Tabung Haji in the future. We can go to the next one. So these are some, next one. So these are some challenges that we are facing. Number one, the mismatch between the expectation of the depositors and also the return that they are going to get. Because we are designed as a bank, but we are not a bank. Yeah? So they are looking at us as fund manager in terms of their expectation of the return. So we need to manage that. And then number two, for the past about 10 years, Tabung Haji has been giving what we call the hafiz, the financial assistant for those who are going to perform Hajj. And it became, the financial assistant now becoming bigger than the real cost that they are going to bear as pilgrims. And now we are, Tabung Haji, through the profit that we are making, for example, last year the total cost of Hajj is about 30,000 ringgit. The pilgrim only pay 12,000 ringgit. The 18,000 ringgit coming from the profit of our investment. So you can see, I mean, how much, if we are not careful, it will not sustain in the future. So these are some challenges. I think the slide before, these are the 8 challenges that we are having, we are facing, and we are doing I mean, a lot of things to overcome this, to make sure that it is sustained financially. Yeah? And then I have 1 more minute. And then there are some, these are some usual things in any corporate organization. You have all the committees, so and so forth. And then can we go to the next slide, please? Next. A lot more. Next. Okay, just before this. This just to give a bit, I think the slide number 28. This just to give you some flavor how big, or small Tabung Haji is. I think we are involved in many sectors as our subsidiaries. We involved in plantation, we involved in properties, we are involved in financial services, even Bank Islam and Takaful Malaysia. We are the major or main shareholder. We involved in hospitality. We involved in information technology. The Theta Age is a listed company, mainly owned by. And then this is the last slide. Next. So this is the overarching framework that we are operating at the moment. So if you can see, at the outside, it is Maqasid Sharia, Sharia compliant and the integrity is the one that everybody need to, whenever they want to do anything at Tabung Haji, these 3 pillars they need to take into consideration. And of course, we have all the pillars within, but what I would like to stress, these 3 pillars is a must. They need to make sure that these 3 pillars are met before any decision they are going to make, any investment that they are going to make, any development that they are going to make. At last, what I can say that if you look at Tabung Haji, it is not a perfect institution, but it is a good example, an institution that really look into the ESG. For the environment, for example, just one aspect of it for solar panel, for example. Any building owned by Tabung Haji, we, as much as possible, will install the solar panel on the roof. If you happen to go to Kuala Lumpur and you take the train from the airport to the city, that train, we are among the majority shareholders. I'm sitting in the board of that train company. So you can see all our stations are placed with panel, solar panel, and all buildings of Tabung Haji. This is just one aspect. Of course, environment is not just the solar panel, but to show you how we emphasize on environment and also the social and governance through this framework. I think I need to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. It was a quite a good journey. I hope, I'm sure there are a number of audience, they would like to ask more questions, and they would like to see how this project can be replicated, in some other part of the world, especially the Muslim world. Well, I think we are coming, close to the concluding remarks, and there are other initiatives actually, at the global level. For example, the Global Muslim Philanthropy Fund for Children. This was initiated, by the IDB with the cooperation of UNICEF. And there's another example is the Awqaf Property Investment Fund that was launched by IDB, and which aims to provide financing for technical assistance for the development of infrastructure and social development projects in IDB member countries. And the Global Waqf Fund, which supports the development of the Waqf-based initiatives in various sectors, and the Islamic Relief Worldwide Sadaqah Fund, which supports the projects related to health, education, and emergency. And there is also a strategic fund for SMEs and climate action. That's also IDB's initiatives. So as you can see that there are so many, initiatives happen, but despite this challenge, there is still a challenge that how we see that, the current practice of Islamic finance, will be sustainable to attract not only the majority Muslims, but also the conventional institutions. So that remains, a big challenge for all of us. With this, I will conclude the session. On behalf of the organizers of this Al-Barka Symposium and the audience, I would like to thank our esteemed, panelists, speakers. I'm so sorry about that. I have been, pushing you to finish your thing, but this should have been done before. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much again, for appreciating your cooperation in, finishing your presentation on time. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry about going over time for a few minutes, Thank you very much once again. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
جزاكم الله خيرا وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. نشكر سعادة رئيس الجلسة على إدارة الجلسة. سعادة الأمين العام يقوم بتكريم الأساتذة بروفيسور سيد ناظم علي، السيد شارجل إدريس أحمد، دكتور عاصف زمان، الأستاذ باسل رحمي، والبروفيسور أشرف بن محمد هاشم.